Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I just got my Onexplayer G1. I've been waiting for it for a few months now through the campaign. It showed up early. I picked up the HX-370 edition 1TB 32 gig model because I'm going to be upgrading to the 4TB drive. So stay tuned for that video. It's coming shortly after this one drops. I also want to go over some accessories that I've picked up in anticipation for this device. So we'll go through that today. And then I'll also do a size comparison versus the X1 Mini, the X1, and the Ally X. So let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to warn you about is when it's in its actual box, it comes very tightly in the box. And when I cut it right open at the top, I actually cut my case. So just be very careful when you open your box to not slice your case if you do have a case with yours. So let's just open this one up first and see what's inside. All right, so the keyboard came loose. That's neat. I was totally expecting it to ship with it on there, but here's the keyboard. And you can see that they've added some number keys to this as shortcuts, so that wasn't there on the original prototype. And we've got a wrist strap to hook onto the case. And you can see the case has a little bit of a curve here for the edges to slot in. All right, let's open the actual box now. When this is in transit, make sure you track it because you can pay the customs fees in transit and that'll help speed things up. So mine actually showed up a couple days early, and that's probably because I tracked it because I paid the fees right away. The moment I've been waiting for so long now. I don't remember when the campaign started, but it's been a few months now. January. All right, so we've got a nice cover protecting it, all wrapped up. And we've got two fans in the back here, and then some more ventilation here. It looks like the triggers have little bumpers at the very bottom. There's like rubber feet here. And that's just to help make it so that it's going to be a little more elevated when it's on the desk. Here we've got two Thunderbolt 4 ports. I like that they're on the back side. That's great. That means that when we're plugging everything in, all the cords are going to go out to the back, nothing interfering with the sides. We've got a regular USB, and then we've got an Oculink and a headphone jack. So again, I really like that all the ports are all in one place at the top. We don't have anything else stashed away on the side other than the micro SD card port, but that's going to be totally fine right there on the side. It's not going to bug us at all. And the top feels like metal, like it's cold to the touch, and the edge feels like metal as well. The bottom feels like plastic, and still like a quality plastic. And that's probably because I know with the Win Minis, they had a metal one at one point and it was very hot to the touch when you were holding it. I didn't have one, but it's just what I've heard from that. The speakers are front facing, so I'm excited to see what that's going to sound like. So I do like that they're pointing towards me instead of out to the side or out to the back. For the display itself, it should be the same display as the X1 Mini, and I'll do a size comparison too, so you'll get to see that. There's always a film on the screens. I'm going to take it off and replace it with a screen protector, and I'll show you which one I'm going to use. So this definitely has some feedback to it on the D-pad. And you've got the recessed joysticks in there too. Overall, it feels really premium, and like this is cold to the touch right now too. So the colder stuff is more the metal chassis piece. So you can see my fingers are making prints on it. So you can see where there's the metal because that's where we're getting that reaction. On the side here, we've got a power button. So I'm going to go ahead and just power it on just to make sure that it turns on. You can see all the RGB is lit up. I was definitely concerned about this edge, just like most people are when you look at this device and how you hold it. But just like some of the other YouTubers who have held on to this, especially at CES, like it doesn't really seem to bother you. Or at least not off first touch, but I'll have to get some playtime with this to really get a feel for that. So we've got the mouse click buttons, home button, we've got our start and select buttons, volume up, brightness up and down. This button's gonna actually change this to a touchpad or the keypad functions, but when you're on the touchpad, you can use the full surface. So I'll get to test that out once I actually get to try the unit out. Turbo button's going to pull up Onex console, and that's going to allow us to change settings on the device. Now, the back buttons are clicky, and then we've got pretty good range on these triggers. All right, let's see what else is in the box. Instruction manual. And this should be the charge cord. So that's a pretty big brick. And you can see it's 100 watts. So if you want to haul this thing around, you can. The first accessory here that I'm going to bring up is, just because we have this charger out, is a charger that I use from Anker. And this is a 100-watt charger. And you can see that these fold down. But from a size, this one also folds down. But from a size, like, this is so much smaller. So if you want a smaller one, I'll link it in the description for an Amazon link. And you can pick one of those up. But it is a 100-watt charger. That's great to see. If I stick the keyboard inside, fits really nice. And there's an edge here for you to pull up on. So this actually just gives you a little bit of a hook side to grab with your nail and then pull up to yank it out. And then this will work on the side to be able to type with if you want to still use it. It has that Bluetooth connection, but you can see the pogo pin points here and here. So if I stick that in there and close it, all good. So let's get into some accessories for this and a couple things that I have picked out. First thing's going to be a screen protector. Now you see that it's the Legion Go one. That's because I used this exact same screen protector on the X1 Mini. And when I used it on the X1 Mini, it fit perfectly. And so this should be the exact same screen as the X1 Mini. All right, so to get the film up, I'm gonna actually use this spudger. There we go. So you can see it's pulling up right now. All right, now I can peel this right off. Stick this on the side. I'm going to grab my Legion Go screen protector and just go straight on. All right, so the new screen protector is on, and it fits perfect. So that's, instead of having this thin film, now it's got a full-on screen protector that's glass, and the joystcks one works perfect for it. Now, the keyboard test. Closes perfect with the screen protector. No problems whatsoever. The next thing I wanted to check out was whether or not I can put thumb grips on these. So I have these Skull & Co. Switch light ones, because I figured these sticks would be very similar to the Switch. Let's see if I can get those on. It's very tight in there. All right, so it looks like the smallest ones do fit for the Skull & Co. They are not like super tight of a fit, but it's probably the best fit we're gonna get if you want to have thumb grips. Now the other question is, if you put these on, can you still put the keyboard on? And it looks like you can, and it still sits flat. So that's pretty neat if you do want to put some thumb grips on. The smallest size for this will probably be the best. I guess there are some riser ones if you want to, you know, bump it up even higher. Let's just check that out. If you do want to get a little bit more of a lift, like you could use these ones, but these ones might come off in game, and you definitely can't put the keyboard down on that. That's too much height. But again, thumb grips, this is an option that should work if you want to have that extra little grip, and I'm probably going to run with just these ones, especially because the keyboard can still go on top of it. The next accessory that I want to talk about is grips. So what I like to do is add any sort of texture I can to the unit so that it doesn't feel like it's going to slip. So when I'm holding this, I really want to get a feel for where I need grips. And so if I go to the back, and the way that I'm going to hold this is my fingers are going to be on the back side here. So I'm going to try to grab as much grip as I can in those areas so that I'm not pulling on this back plate when I'm grabbing the device. Instead, I'm catching this grip tape. So let me start working on that, and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like. Something worth noting while I'm going through all these grips is that I've lost these little legs multiple times already on my desk, just flipping this around and knocking them off. So I guarantee that you're probably going to lose these right away. So 2 things you could do: super glue to try to get those to stay on. So look, I've just taken one off with my finger at the stick on, but what I'm going to do is just cover them up with some grip tape to just keep them on there and still have that little bump. Okay, so I'm done putting grips on it, and I've decided to put some right here just for when you're resting, if you're watching a video or something, just to hold on to it a little bit better. And when I put the keyboard down, it seems everything's fine. When I get it all booted up and running, I'll put something in the description if it doesn't work properly with these. But here you can see that I have gripped along the edge, and I've decided to just cut off right on the corner here for anything that might be kind of poking at the very edge here. And I've just done like a thin cut right along the bezel, and then a little grip on the inside between the screws, because I still need to get into there so I can change out my NVMe, and then a longer patch, and then I'm covering the bumpers again because they fell off multiple times as I move this around, so I imagine you're going to lose those pretty quick. And then here is just spots where I'm kind of holding my hand and keeping my pinkies, so I have those 2 dots marked off for now, and then the same thing on this side, little edge, and then coming around to the corner. So this is what I've got right now, and I might change it in the future, but we'll see how it feels once I get gaming with it. And the last accessory that I want to go through, and I don't know if this is going to work quite yet, but what I was concerned about is when it's flat like that on the ground and there's just that tiny little lip here that's keeping a little bit of airflow coming, is that it's not going to be enough. So if you're using it as like a laptop, or if you're gaming with it on the side, like if you've got your keyboard and you're doing some work and you're worried about it overheating, I just worry about how close it is to the ground. So usually I'll use like a laptop cooling pad or something like that with a laptop. So I pick this thing up, and this is a double fan, and it's adjustable, so you can maneuver this in any way that you need to in order to make it work. So if I sit this just on top of there, it's elevated at least, and the fans are pointing directly at the back where the intake is, and you can see that it should provide extra cooling for this, and it doesn't interfere with the little bumpers. And then we can just plug it right into the USB in the back here to get power for that, and those will both be spinning. So this is something I'm going to try out. If I don't like this, I'll put a comment in the description too, but this is something that I've figured would be a good option to keep it cool if you're just resting it down. And again, you can take this off and push this forward, and then still game or type or anything like that with it still cooling on here and having that screen facing you. Time to pivot over to sizing. Let's compare this to a few different devices. So first, I'm going to pull out the X1 Mini. And the X1 Mini, you can see that the core itself is basically identical, because like I said, the screen is the same screen that is on the X1 Mini on this device here, side that you have the controller. So ergonomically, this is going to be a heck of a lot better. But the keyboard itself, very flimsy on the X1 Mini versus having a solid frame on the G1. Now, if I take off the controllers, you can see that they're very comparable in terms of thickness. And one of the biggest differences from having the X1 Mini is that the ports are on the bottom here too, and that's a terrible spot for the Oculink port. And then you've got an extra Thunderbolt 4 port at the bottom here. Not bad if you're charging or trying to hold on to it and game at the same time and you want to plug in from the bottom. That's okay. But the Oculink port is in a bad spot for you if you want to be able to use this as a display with an eGPU. Weight-wise, it's actually pretty comparable. It feels pretty comparable from the Mini. This is like a very thick body on here that's pretty weighted. It's going to feel a lot better just from having the controllers in a more ergonomic position and more comfort than having a flat edge and then holding it straight. But this is the kind of device that you know what you're getting into. Like if you're looking for a clamshell, you're not looking to have that super ergonomic comfort like you do on a regular controller. You're getting it because of this form factor, being able to shut it, just put it into a bag and have that stable core for a keyboard and have it as a literal mini laptop. Now, if I move this over to the X1, you're going to see a bigger size difference. The X1 is not as thick, but is quite a bit bigger. So if you're looking at the G1, it's a lot smaller, more compact. But again, when we take off these controllers, now the real advantage to the X1 is the bigger screen and then the keyboard layout. So something that I don't really like about the X1 Mini from having that, the exclamation mark and the apostrophe and where they're sitting on here, versus where they are on here with like a normal keyboard layout. So this is probably my biggest gripe, is when you're typing. It's kind of odd getting used to this and having that exclamation mark and question mark here instead of having them on the two sides here. So if you're used to typing on a regular keyboard, which most people are, it does take some getting used to when you're maneuvering to this one. This is just going to give you more options if you want to go on a laptop, if you want to run it on a handheld. When you pull off everything, it's quite a bit slimmer and not as heavy. And if you're running into handheld mode, this is going to be more comfortable than if you're, again, using this, because this isn't an ergonomic factor for gaming. It's just a really unique setup for having a laptop and a gaming handheld all in one. The G1 does have those two fans versus the one fan of the X1. And the last sizing I'll do is against the Ally X. So with the Ally X, this is quite a bit thicker. In terms of weight, this is heavier. And you're gonna hear my dog snoring throughout this because she is ready to nap and she is pumping out those snores. So sorry, but you're definitely gonna hear that throughout the video. And you can see the screen size is quite a bit bigger. Again, it's the same size as the X1 Mini. Now with everything that I've added on for accessories, when I put the keyboard on, you can see that it's still connecting. So we've got the grips here, and then I've got the joystick caps. And when I stick this down, it still connects. So it looks like it should be good with those accessories on. And there you have it, Onexplayer's newest console, the G1. It's a unique design. I'm really excited to try it. At one point, I was really considering getting a GPD Win Mini or a Win Max. And this one, I feel like, is a better fit for what I would use it for. And I really like that design to be able to take this off and have more of a bigger surface for gaming. So once I get a chance to really play with this, I'll share some more feedback and some gameplay and things like that. So look forward to that content. But first, I have to take out the NVMe and change that out. So look for that video after this if you're interested in seeing what the NVMe swap is going to look like on this device. But that's going to be it for today. Thanks everybody for watching. Take care until the next one.